Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say the words to remember.
Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a video about what would happen if a poorly drawn Asian man fought a big dinosaur crocodile. That's right, we're going to be doing the alligator from Baki, the one that fought Pickle the Beast, and, or actually didn't fight him, pretty much got slaughtered by him, and a person from a manga called The Fist of the Seeker. It's actually a prequel to Kengan of sorts. You'll definitely see a lot of familiar faces if you read Kengan Ashura and Kengan Omega, and you've read The Fist of the Seeker. You'll see quite a few familiar faces, but of course this was the precursor to the Kengan verse that we know today, and I'm basically gonna be telling you my thoughts as to who's gonna win here. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking it's a normal dude that does martial arts. Yeah, it's a martial artist versus a dinosaur crocodile or a dinosaur alligator. um, yeah. Well, you might be surprised as to what I have to say. I mean, sure, the crocodile can, bite with his massive teeth, and he has that big tail he can slap people with, and of course, um, alligators can do that thing, the death roll, where they basically bite you to grab you, and they just roll around on the ground like as violently as possible, basically shaking the life out of you, and then eating you. He can, of course, he can still do that, um, but he didn't actually really do anything to Pickle. Like if he had some oh he was able to scratch Pickle with his teeth, then we're talking about we're talking about a serious threat here. But as far as what we were really able to see, I mean, just based on the fact that he's a crocodile, he has things like well, of course he's stronger than most crocodiles. I mean, like he's considered to be like closer to a dinosaur than a normal crocodile, or since he's an alligator, I keep forgetting, crocodilians, I guess. And he was able to like destroy a bunch of metal boats and like people's watercrafts, uh, just by swimming. So he's pretty strong, but like he's also super slow. Like because of his bigger size, he actually ends up being slower than most alligators. Um, Other than that, he's just slightly stronger than most normal alligators. Um, it's not that great. He has his enhanced senses, what with being a crocodile, or an alligator. um, and of course, he, like I mentioned earlier, he has things like his teeth for biting. His claws can help cut his opponent, um, and he has his scales to help protect against strikes. He's a really big alligator, of course, so it's going to be hard to leave a lasting impact on him through his scales. It's going to be hard to deal with his sheer size and the fact that he can like whip you with his tail or shred you to pieces with his teeth and stuff. He may have gotten like off screened by Pickle, but the person from Fist of the Seeker that he's going up against, Zong Longshen, is well, he's no joke. I can say that much. Um, Basically, to give you an example of his strength, we have this above average crocodile. Like, don't get me wrong, again, he was able to destroy boats. Or, like, I don't know if they're like full on boats, but like, metal watercrafts, to say the least. He was able to destroy those things just by swimming into them and shattering them. But, like, he wasn't that big. He was, other than his size, a normal crocodile, and he's not nearly as strong as Zong, and this is my line of thinking as to why. You may be thinking, oh, but he's a crocodile. It's a crocodile versus a person. There's no way that a person could beat a crocodile. And I would say to you that you're thinking of the mindset of reality. This is a work of fiction. These are two fictional creatures. Just because one is an alligator and the other is a person, that doesn't inherently mean that the alligator is going to defeat the person. Especially when you take into consideration that Zong was able to hurt people like a familiar face for anybody who's read Kengan Omega. Zong was actually able to make Narushima cough up blood. Narushima Joji, that was the person who was basically acting as an instructor at the beginning of Kengan Omega, uh, as far as like karate goes. He was acting as an instructor, so to speak, for Koga, uh, and being in that level of like, I guess you could say like masters or teachers for like Kengan level fighters, in that same regard, that's probably where Zong would end up. And Zong's no joke either. Or, no, excuse me, Joji. Joji's no joke either. Zong was able to hit him and make him cough up blood, and he should be about as strong as Kureishi, who was he's the guy with the ponytail and the scar across his face in Kengan Omega. He serves as Cosmo's master, and even in Kengan, he's probably stronger than Cosmo. At the very least, if you wanted to make Cosmo a little stronger, make him out to be a little stronger than he probably actually is, you could say that they're comparable, but he's by that same token, you know, um, Kureishi is also considered one of the top 10 MMA fighters in Japan, so he should be again comparable to the likes of Okubo. So like he's up there, like I wouldn't say he's anything like Beard level. I don't think he's as strong as Kuroki Gensai. I think that's a little ridiculous, but he is like finalist to semi-finalist levels of strength. So he would put up a decent fight against Kuroki. Um, Only later to have his entire face smashed in, but that's besides the point. So from scaling, we have post Kengan tournament Cosmo, who we even see has worked on his striking. So we know for a fact that not only is he still good at grappling, but now we know he hits harder. Johnny Waters can tell you from firsthand experience. Um, so we have somebody who's comparable to Okubo and Cosmo, that being Kureishi, being roughly equivalent to Joji, the one who was training Koga, and Zong Longshen was able to make Joji cough up blood. So like they're obviously around the same level of strength, and this is versus a slightly larger than average alligator that's practically feetless other than swimming through water, breaking some boats, and getting destroyed by Pickle's face. So, yeah, I mean, we're basically dealing with, on Zong's side, he's also stronger than the average human, as you could probably tell. We have people in Kengan who are able to, like, shatter concrete walls and do all these crazy, strength feats. But, the difference being, I suppose you could say this could be a counter to the alligator's natural weaponry of like his teeth and his scales and claws and tail. Is that of course Zong is an expert martial artist. He is an expert in his version of Chinese kung fu called the Shaolin Kung Fu, and basically to give a brief overview of that is it was created in 1947, and it was created by this like crazy um, like awesome martial arts master, Zong Tangzhen. And basically, it's a unification of soft technique and hard technique. So things like strikes and things like locks and submissions. It's it's described as the strikes are as hard as a cannon, hitting somebody, and like the joint locks, the soft techniques, is basically like being enveloped like an entire forest, a la Hashirama using like wood style to create an entire forest out of the ground. Um, that's pretty much what we're dealing with here, as far as like his expertise in martial arts. But we also know that he is good at pressure points, which could definitely be helpful here. Now, of course, an alligator would have different pressure points than a human, but of course, we're dealing with a master martial artist here. I wouldn't put it past him to be able to find said pressure points and deal with them accordingly. But even if you wanted to say, oh no, he wouldn't be able to find the pressure points, um, I would still say, like, okay, we're dealing with somebody who's way faster than this alligator, Like as far as speed feats, this thing is like the alligator's probably slower or at least comparable to normal crocodiles. And this dude was again able to keep up with Joji, who is able to like blitz Koga, who should be like a I don't know, at least maybe a quarterfinalist in Kengan Ashura, like as far as his level of strength. Um, though maybe not at that time, to be fair. But I digress. We're not dealing with somebody who is fast versus somebody who is extremely fast, and we're dealing with a person who has the strength advantage. So, um, again, to bring up the point, I'm really on Zong's side here. He's got the locks to make a successful grapple on this thing. He has the strikes to shatter this thing's teeth and claws. That tail's not hitting him if it gets joint locked. You know, I don't know. I mean, like the scales are probably the biggest problem. All the scales do is probably prevent him from using pressure points and acupuncture, and that's only if he was able to figure out the pressure points of an alligator, and that's only if he deems it necessary because he's already stronger and faster than this thing. Like he has an answer to the alligator's entire kit. Like of course we're gonna see like a closer fight than it was between Pickle and the alligator, but like this isn't gonna be like the fight of the century. Like it's such a hard lock. There's no telling who could win. It's not gonna be your typical Kengan fight. It's gonna be a very one-sided fight, and it's gonna be very easy to see that. Um, I mean, heck, this guy can even sense people's bloodlust. So even if you wanted to say, oh, well, let's put this fight, like as far as like a setting, let's put this in like a swamp and give him, natural camouflage in the swamp water versus Zong. Zong's still going to be able to sense his bloodlust. So he doesn't have the element of surprise. The alligator doesn't really have anything that can concretely put Zong down. Zong has pretty much every advantage when it comes to his kit and his skill level. I mean, the man was able to master Shaolin Kung Fu by the age of 25. Like that's considered in Kengan, that's considered impressive even by master martial artists. So this guy is like a Saiyan among Saiyans, whatever the comparison you want to make. Like this dude's gonna win. Like the way I'm seeing it right now, he has every possible advantage against this alligator. So I'm thinking Zong Longshen is gonna win. Uh, Now, of course, the alligator is going to put up a decent fight. There might even be an instance. I wouldn't necessarily consider this like 100% one-sided. There is a possibility that the alligator might be able to win in some way, shape, or form. Do I think it's likely? Not at all. I think the strength gap and the speed gap is way too big between them. But, I mean, it is possible that Zong could possibly make a mistake. He could possibly trip up as far as like what he's intending to do. Those claws are definitely extremely dangerous, and that death roll, if he gets caught in that death roll, I fear the worst. I don't know if his soft techniques are going to be able to help him out there. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you liked the video. Subscribe if you want to see more of these versus fights. This one was a bit of a random one. But I've always thought, like, okay, what if we took, like, I like the whole, like, Kengan versus Baki kind of deal. I've always been a fan of, like, different martial arts animes and seeing, like, oh, well, who's martial arts among the martial arts animes? Who are the best martial artists? Who are the strongest? Who are the fastest? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, I like seeing, like, the techniques clash and stuff like that. And, these characters aren't super notable in their series. Fist of the Secret isn't a very popular series by itself, and the alligator literally appears for like 1 or 2 chapters, 2 at most, maybe 3 if you want to count the chapter that Pickle was like devouring him. You could probably see some of his fleshy bits in Pickle's little collection. So they're not like these big popular characters that everybody knows, but I thought it was an interesting fight. Like, okay, how many people would see Zong Longshen and see the giant alligator, and then just instantly, based off of appearances alone, say, okay, the alligator's gonna win? Well, unless it's a contest of having your skin and your flesh rended from your bones by a sewer grate as a caveman pulls you through said grate, Zong's gonna win. The alligator's got the sewer grate getting his body turned into Swiss cheese competition in the bag, but as far as a fight goes, in terms of like actually hitting, the strength scaling for Kengan Ashura characters, especially people on the level of like semi-finalists and finalists, they're too strong. They're too strong for like a basically next to feetless alligator. He's just kind of big and an alligator. Like that's cool, but it's not really impressive in terms of how strong he is. So yeah, that's it. If you want to see more of these versus fights, you leave your comments, see who you want to go up against each other. Suggest some animes. Right now I'm just thinking of doing Baki versus Kengan. I might do some Kenichi and other stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching again. Leave that like if you liked the video. If you didn't, leave that like. Thanks, appreciate it. All right, cool. All right, everybody. I'll see you later.